Hi everybody. Today we are going to be discussing a topic in Miss Nola's classroom, which is a paper-filled classroom is an issue. Her classroom is clustered, chaotic, and it's hard to migrate students from virtual to in-person to virtual with only paper materials. So the problem my teacher is facing is how she hands out materials and that the paper is everywhere. Students are out or sick and cannot come to class or having trouble accessing their materials because it's paper. And the classroom is cluttered and chaotic. The paper leads to assignments going missing, not getting turned in, misplaced, and eventually students obtaining zeros or having to redo them. The students' ages in Miss Nova's classroom are between 8 and 9, depending on when their birthdays fall, and are currently in the 3rd grade. The lesson plan follows the NETS standard of Creative Communicator 1.6D. It states students publish or present content that customizes the message and medium for their intended audience. An example of this would be the Storyjumper book that they will be able to create and publish and present that content in a presentation form. The Common Core standard that supports this lesson plan is the CCSS Math Content 30A B5. It states that we apply properties of operations as strategies to multiply and divide. Example would be if 6 times 4 equals 24 is known, then 4 times 6 equals 24. It's kind of fact families, but it's also the cumulative property of multiplication. This is actually something Miss Noblet is teaching right now, which is super cool. It was coincidental too. 3 times 5 times 2 can be found by 3 times 5 equals 15, then 15 times 2 equals 30, or by 5 times 2 equals 10, then 3 times 10 equals 30. It's the associative property of multiplication, and knowing that 8 times 5 equals 40 and 8 times 2 equals 16, one can find 8 times 7 as 8 times parentheses 5 plus 2 equals 8 times 5 plus 8 times 2. So 40 plus 16 equals 56. It's a distributive property. So the technology resource that I will be using first in this lesson plan is Edsshelf. It's a computerized bookshelf. It's super cool. We'll get more into that. Here's a picture of it. This is a multiplication bookshelf, so it has all the games and multiplication tools that students can use in this. All right, so technology resource number 2 is Storyjumper. That's what I was talking about. It's the digital book software where the kids will be able to create it. So a picture of this is one of the books. This is a specific multiplication books and how that can help the students. Technology resource number 3 would be Google Classroom. I know it's pretty obvious, but a lot of teachers still don't know about this resource. So this is where you would be able to take and create a class. This is a class I created. You'll be able to give students class codes, put quizzes, paperwork, anything on there that students in class and out of class can access. So activities with the resources, the teacher will begin the class with a digital pop quiz on Google Classroom. I do want to preface it, this is a pop quiz and it's not actually for a grade. Students won't know what's happening, but it's to judge how well the students know. The teacher will have posted assignments for practice after this, and after the quiz they can take 15 minutes practicing to see how well they do. This is like a link to Storyjumper or Edsshelf where they have all the games and resources. There's some really fun ones out there, and personally I would like to play them. After this, the teacher will begin reading a chosen multiplication book on Storyjumper. It could be one of the ones like I use in my example, or even one of the ones that the teacher creates. After the book is read, students will be informed they will also be creating a storybook as their project, and that they will present it to the class. So they really need to have all of their information correct, and that's kind of one of the things they'll be graded on. The students will be working on the books for a few days and will all be on a specific multiplication family. For example, 5 times 6 equals 30, and 30 is divided by 5 equals 6. The students will be able to add to their books to the Edsshelf in order to allow each student to have access to it. The students will also have a traditional lectures, with these being supplemental. At the end of each unit, the students will take a pop quiz. I'll assess student learning in a couple of forms: how well they do on their presentation and also on their rubric. And here's an example of that rubric. But other than that, the test will not be graded.